everyone, it's Silva, and today we're talking hygiene. Ever wonder what you do on trail when you're out there for months on end? About using the bathroom? About taking a shower so you don't stink? About washing your clothes, especially when you're only carrying the set you're wearing and maybe some extra clothes to sleep in, and that's it. What do you do if you're one of the lucky women out there who gets to take part in their monthly cycle while on trail? What do you do about that? Well, that's what we're talking about today. Let's get into it. Well, let's talk about some things people don't like to talk about. But for some reason, when you're on trail, everybody talks about it. What do you do for number one and number two when you need the bathroom on trail? Well, let's start with number one. That's an easy one. Make sure you are at least 100 yards away from any campsites or shelters and a water source before you take number one. Make sure you're off trail so no one sees you, but sometimes things happen. Number two, that's a little bit more involved. If you buy a tent site or campsite that has a privy, you can use that. They don't always smell the best. It's only for number two. Don't put your trash in there or any used feminine needs. It's only for human waste. But if you're not near a privy or it's so disgusting you can't use it or it's overflowing, which has happened before, then you want to go 200 feet away from any campsite or the trail or especially any water sources. You want to use your handy dandy trowel. I have the Deuce number 2, accurately named, ultralight trowel. It weighs 0.06 ounces and I think it goes for around $20. So not very expensive, but very, very handy. And you want to go 200 yards away from any water source, campsite, the trail, and you dig a hole 6 to 8 inches deep. That's what you're going to use when you need to go to the bathroom. You can only bury your waste and toilet paper in there. Don't put any wipes in there. They're not biodegradable. Even if they say biodegradable, you pack them out. Some hikers even pack out their toilet paper. But as long as you're burying it 6 to 8 inches deep, you can put the toilet paper into the hole. Now, sometimes you gotta go so bad that you don't have time to dig the hole first. So make sure you're away from everything by 200 feet. Use the bathroom, dig the hole, get a stick. Don't use your trowel. You don't want to get that on your trowel. Use a stick, get it into the hole, and then bury it like you would any other time. Now, feminine hygiene needs, I'm going to just save that for the end so that if it's not something you want to hear or talk about, then you can kind of skip that. So I'm going to get into some other things first, and then we'll revisit feminine bathroom needs. So what do you do when you've been on trail 4 or 5 days, maybe 6, and you stink, you need a shower, and you really want to wash your clothes? Well, when you get to the hotel or your hostel, or maybe you're only running into town and you're going to just pay for a shower and laundry. Typically at the hostel or the hotel, the shower's included, but a lot of times you have to pay extra to do the laundry. Usually they have soap there you can buy. Sometimes at the hostel, if you're resupplying in town, you can get a small bottle of laundry detergent and share it among a few of you and use that for the laundry. I've not usually had any issues getting laundry soap to do laundry while I'm in town. But what are you to do when, like me, I only have one set of clothes, the clothes I'm hiking in, and then I will, if it's cold weather, I'll sleep in my base layers. If it's warmer, I may have a tiny pair of shorts and a tank top that I throw on at night. But both are disgusting at this point. You've been hiking for days, your clothes stinks, and your sleep clothes stinks because you've only really been able to, wipe up a little at night with some wipies on trail. That's when your handy dandy raincoat and rain pants come in handy. I'll get into town, get to the hostel or wherever I'm staying at, take my rain gear into the shower area with me, change out my gross clothes, jump in the shower, fresh. And then I will put on my rain gear and then do a load of laundry. And yes, hikers are sitting all around, hanging out near the laundry area or running back and forth to check their laundry while they're all in their rain gear. But that way you can clean everything you own. When you're on trail, if you want to do some quick wash up, either after you use the bathroom and you don't feel like hand sanitizer is enough to get you clean, or you want to wash up, wash your feet or your face, and you don't want to use wipies, then you'll want to use biodegradable soap. And you don't want to get this anywhere near a water source on trail. You want to be at least 200 yards from a water source if you're going to use soap. And it needs to be biodegradable, and you should use a really sparing amount not to hurt the environment. Typically, I like to carry wipies with me, and I will get some more when I'm in town. I use this very sparingly when I'm on trail, very rarely, but I do use some wipies. Like at night, if I've walked through the mud all day, or my feet are really dirty, or I'm really stinky, I will use a couple wipies. I try not to use more than 2 because you do have to pack out anything like that you use. And I will, wash down my feet so I don't get too much crud on them, to try and keep them from getting any blisters or infections or anything like that. Sometimes I'll use another wipey if I got really dirty to wipe my face and maybe my armpits to try and stay a little cleaner. Sometimes it's not worth the effort, but I always make sure my feet are clean so that I don't have any issues with my feet. All right, for the feminine hygiene part, if you are lucky enough to have to deal with that on trail, yes, that's a wonderful thing, then there are different options for you out there. I stuck to mostly just tampons, and I do use the kind that have the applicator. I don't worry about the weight of having to carry the tampons once a month. They're not very heavy. They're very lightweight. Yes, they're heavier after they've been used, but I have a separate bag that I packed out when I was on the AT. I had a separate bag that I packed out any of that in, and I have been lucky enough that usually whenever I decide to do a 4 or 5 day backpacking trip, it's always at the worst time. So I have a separate bag that I put that in. I'll use wipies and hand sanitizer on my hands to clean up. I just find, for me, that tampons work the best. Because I use the kind with the applicator, it just seemed a little less dirty. You don't always want to put your hands in places like that after you haven't been able to wash them really good. But it seemed a little less unsanitary. I mean, it's still unsanitary, but after, you're going to use the hand sanitizer or go 200 yards away and use some soap and water. There are other alternatives. There's menstrual cups. I don't own one. I haven't used one. I did think about it. I'll put a picture here of what it looks like. The reason I chose not to use the menstrual cup is because for me, I didn't feel comfortable having to take it in and out to empty it while on trail. I didn't feel comfortable because it can be very messy. I was also concerned about the cleanup of the menstrual cup, having to, wash in soap and water or sterilize it. I didn't want to have to deal with those things while on trail. It works great for some women, and I think that's fantastic. And if that works for you, that's great. If you do use a menstrual cup, there are very similar rules to when you use number 2. To empty it, you'll want to go 200 feet away from any water sources, any campsites, dig a 6-inch cat hole and empty the cup into it. And then, fill the dirt back in. Trying to keep all of that away from, any water sources, animals that sometimes dig stuff up and track it over to campsites. So they're pretty much the same rules as number 2 to take care of that. Again, for me, it just wasn't how I wanted to handle the situation. I hope, and I'm sure it works great for some people, and tampons don't. Also, they do make, like I said, I keep a separate bag so that I'm putting my personal waste into its own separate bag, so I'm not always opening my food bag to throw some, like when I have trash from food trash, that it's not kind of mixed together. It just made me feel a little better about it. But they also make black Ziploc bags so you can't see through them. So that way, if you're putting stuff in there you don't want anybody to see or kind of weirds you out, then, you can't see through it. I believe they sell them right on Amazon. I didn't bother doing that, but some people do. So that's the basics of how you stay clean, use the bathroom, and any feminine needs when you're on trail. That's how I dealt with it when I was on trail for almost 3 months on the AT. That's how I'm planning to deal with it again when I return to the trail at the beginning of April. Feel free to comment below with any questions or let me know something I may have missed. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic week, and I'll see you in the next video. you.